The thing that is really hard and really amazing is giving up on being perfect and beginning the work of becoming yourself. 6 years ago, I would find this to be the mantra of my life. As a student at the University of Central Florida, I was 18 years old and realizing that my life's reality would quickly change as I came into who I was as a feminine lesbian. I was confused as to whether or not stereotypes would change the course of my life, and I worried about what friends and loved ones I might lose for choosing to live openly as who I am. Now, standing before all of you, it is an overwhelming and rare feeling of safety that inside these walls I am accepted and even celebrated for all that I am. Thank you. Growing up in a small conservative city in South Carolina, I never met anybody that I perceived to be like me. As I hit puberty, I began to question what it was that was so different about me. I was simultaneously receiving subtle messages from my world around me that anyone other than a heterosexual being lived a life of stigma. At 16, I craved the answers to my life's biggest confusion, and I chose to graduate high school early and move 500 miles away from home to Orlando, Florida, to begin my college career 2 years early. Mom and Dad, I'll never be able to express to you what it meant to me that you let your little girl leave home and trusted me in the biggest decision I've ever made in my search for self-discovery. Thank you. You recognized that my environment was hindering me before I ever knew why. To the educators and the administrators who display supportive subtleties in the classroom with the tiniest rainbow pin or nod to equality, we need you. To the healthcare provider who makes no assumptions about our correct names or pronouns and don't assume heterosexuality and sexual history, we need you. And to all those who actively protect and provide our lives with validation in society, thank you. You are helping greatly to reduce the cost of the closet. Some have called me a trailblazer, but what I have done has only been enabled by the true renegades who have come before me to give my life and voice the chance to be meaningful. And to me, this means Harvey, Ellen, and Laverne. These are the voices that have shown me truth in times where giving up on being perfect is my biggest and hardest surrender, that it is not my responsibility to take on the pressures that society projects upon me. I want to extend my deepest thanks to all of you this morning for believing in a community that still needs support and seeking ways to enable our acceptance and success in society. In today's political and social climate, we cannot afford to diminish the value of our collective human capital with LGBTQ+ lives continuing to be lost and put into jeopardy every day. Thank you for reassuring me and so many others that our existence and contributions here are valid. It is my immense pleasure to introduce you all to our next speaker. An HRC Youth Ambassador, Alex Cooper, is helping shine light on the abusive practices of so-called conversion therapy. Through her new book, Saving Alex, she details her own life and the dangers of trying to change who we are. Please join me in welcoming Alex.
Thank you, Erin, for the kind introduction and for your incredible work. What a wonderful honor to be able to speak to you all this morning. I'm Alex Cooper, and I'm so pleased to have the opportunity as an HRC Youth Ambassador to share my story with you today. It's not always easy to share our stories, but by hearing our journeys, we hope you can further your own journey and help the young people in your lives on their paths. I was born in California, the youngest child of a traditional Mormon family. I stood apart from the rest of my family, but they were kind and loving nonetheless. Then I turned 15 and came out as a lesbian. My family was stunned. They were true believing Mormons and simply couldn't fathom having a daughter with such an affliction. So they signed their parental rights to a family in southern Utah who promised to reform me. In their hearts, my mother and father were doing what they thought was truly best for me. They had no idea. I was denied an education and subjected to physical and mental abuse. I was given a backpack to carry with 40 pounds of rocks in it to teach me the supposed physical burden of suffering from same-sex attraction. They gave me house chores slated specifically to foster my motherly instincts. There were others in the home too, other Mormon LGBTQ teens who this family had promised to reform. The boys were forced to physically fight each other to help them develop their masculinity. The home I was in wasn't licensed. They trapped us there, telling us we'd never get into heaven with our families. And despite where they'd sent us, our families were still our families. Many of us wanted desperately to rejoin with them, but to be welcomed for who we were. I was held there for 8 months, broken and pushed to the brink of suicide, but I still held out hope. There are many who did nothing, church leaders who knew what was happening and turned a blind eye, community members who saw our attempts at escape and stayed silent. But there were many others in small and large ways who took action. They made an impact that can hardly be measured. I like to think of impact as a rock thrown into a still pond. Regardless of its size and no matter its weight, once the rock breaks the surface, the stillness is lost. The surface break creates a ripple that can easily travel the length of the pond twice over. The actions we make every single day create a ripple through the world we live in. I was not able to control the actions of the people around me, but I was able to be fortunate enough to have people who stood beside me, who helped me, and who gave me the will to fight. It all started with confiding in someone. I'd been allowed at one point to attend the local high school, and it was there I met Jason. Such a free spirit, his personality filled the room so much that I was uncomfortable. Jason stuck out. He owned who he was, and it radiated from him in a way I couldn't remember seeing in anyone in such a long time. And because of Jason, I found that the high school in the small conservative Utah town had a fledgling GSA. The advisor created the first safe space I'd felt since my family had sent me away. If it weren't for befriending Jason and confiding in him, I never would have been connected with my lawyer, Paul Burke. Paul's interest in my case was instantaneous. Growing up in Utah and coming out, he knew firsthand what it would be like. His dedication to me renewed my faith in myself. Jason, Paul, my GSA, they proved that not everybody was out to change me. There were people, and many of them people of faith, who wanted to protect and help me live authentically. Paul took my case pro bono alongside John Mackey. With the support of the law firm Ray, Quinney, and Nebeker, they pursued my case with a passion. Ultimately, they won me the right to live freely as a lesbian teen in the Mormon Mecca of southern Utah. The impact of all of these people have had on my short life is immeasurable, and I will forever be touched by the fact that they all felt the need to protect and invest in me. People of all backgrounds and creeds saw the need to help one person live freely. You're probably wondering, what has happened with my family? Well, they went on their own journey. I'm not going to say that everything is perfect. It's not, but they're trying. They even joke about when my girlfriend and I are going to start having children. If that does happen, I tell you what, those kids will know that they were born perfect. I'd like to close by saying thank you. There are decent people in this world who mean well but do bad things. And there are those who see it happening but sit idly by and watch. And then there are the doers, and that's all of you. In ways you may not ever fully comprehend, you're creating the ripples that help us all, and for that I thank you.